Do you struggle with learning the rules of golf? Whether you've been playing for years or are brand new to the game, this is the podcast for you. Golf Rules School is the podcast to demystify the rules of golf and empower you with knowledge so you can have more confidence and lower your scores. Welcome to the Golf Rules School podcast. If you've ever had a question about the rules of golf, a dispute, a disagreement, or maybe worse, you're in the right place to learn the rules of golf. I'm Marcella Smith, coming to you from Palm Springs, California, and my partner Blakey is down under.
Yep, Melbourne, Australia. So looking forward to helping everyone learn the rules of golf.
We are two rules nerds who met on Instagram a number of years ago. Rules are our life, but we don't expect them to be everyone else's life. So if you've been playing for 40 years, 40 weeks, or 40 minutes, really, this is the place for you. You're going to learn something in every episode, right, Blakey?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try and run through the rules of golf in a really simple and unconfusing way.
And Blakey's slogan on his other podcast, he actually has a podcast called Golf Rules Questions, very successful Instagram with 80,000 followers, YouTube channel as well. His slogan, I heard the other day, and I just always thought it was his slogan that he came up with. He actually kind of took it from somewhere.
Yeah, I plagiarized it, but I love it so much.
Take a peek or listen at what his slogan is.
We're on the 15th hole. Yeah, he's beating me by a couple of strokes. Then he's about to hit his second shot when he picks up the ball and cleans it. So what? Sorry. But the rules clearly state that you cannot clean the ball unless it's on the green. The rules are very clear about that. Certainly are. Yeah. So I penalized him a stroke.
I see what the big deal is.
Hey, a rule is a rule. And let's face it, without rules, there's chaos.
Yep. Without rules, there is chaos. We all have to follow the rules no matter what we're doing. So that's what we're here to do, is sort of help you learn them. And we're starting out at the foundation. So every episode, we're going to take you through some things that if you've been playing for a while, maybe sound like you've heard them before, or you may think you know them, but learning that foundation and those definitions is definitely key to conquering the rules of golf and really understanding them so you can put them into play in the future when you're out there playing golf.
And Marcella, you've spent a bit of time teaching the rules of golf out there on the course too.
Yes, I teach women, mostly women, under Girlfriend's Guide to Golf. I go out on the course. We spend about 2 hours, and we do this at country clubs all over the United States and a little bit abroad, and teach them the fundamentals. And we start out in the teeing area and we work our way through all the way to the putting green with lots of scenarios out on the course and lots of time and for questions and answers. And it's kind of a thing that we all share in common, which is a struggle to understand what can be very complicated. And our plan is to make it a little more simple for you.
So first of all, I just want to ask you a question that we're going to answer throughout the podcast. So the question is, it's a simple golf rules question for the episode. Which area of the course do you start play of the hole? So we'll confirm the answer at the end of the episode.
So in this podcast series, we're going to talk about the defined areas of the course, forms of play, types of relief, that's free versus penalty relief, how to take relief, whether it be from a cart path or out of a penalty area, how to take relief from an unplayable ball. And you can do that anywhere on the course except in a penalty area. How to know the status of your ball, or do you say status or status, Marcel?
We say status.
I'd say status. What happens if you hit a wrong ball? Is there a penalty for accidentally hitting a ball, and what to do if you're unsure about a rule?
Yeah, so we're going to dial all those down for you. And what's really important to start out with is the definitions. And when I was studying for my USGA exam, which Blakey was my coach for that, when I was studying for that, everyone really kind of focuses on, hey, don't forget, spend a ton of your time studying on the definitions, because a simple word that means one thing in the English language can mean something else under the rules of golf. Perfect example is ball moved.
Yeah, exactly right. So ball moved, English language, you can see that a ball is moving. Maybe the wind is blowing it or it's moved off its spot. It's clearly moved, but rules of golf, it has to move off its spot and stay off its spot effectively. So if it rolled out and then rolled back into its exact same spot, it hasn't moved. A difference there, and that's what we're going to talk to you mostly about, the differences between what it might mean in English versus what it actually means in the rules of golf.
So, as we talk about definitions and terms that are so important to understanding the rules, it's also really important to think about the words within the rule itself. For example, must, may, and should. Sometimes we'll hear that someone told us something about a rule. Maybe it was someone on television or the guy in the pro shop, and we thought he said we have to do something or we must do something. But in reality, the rule, when you look it up, says you may do something or you should. So let's just talk about the must, may, should, because I think it's important for everyone to kind of notice that when they're learning about the rules.
Yeah, so may, should, and must. We start with should. That is something in the rules of golf that it strongly encourages you to do something. You don't have to do it. It strongly encourages you to do something. Do you have an example of that, Marcella?
What you should do is when you begin play of your round, you should mark your ball uniquely. Put a little dot on it or your little arrow or whatever your little distinctive markings are. You should do that because that will help you identify your ball and could potentially prevent a penalty stroke because you're able to identify it. So that's something that you should do.
That's good. And then may is an option under the rules. So we see this in free relief where may play the balls at lies, or you may take free relief from the cart path, for instance. So that's an example there. Your cart path or your temporary water, you may play it as it lies. It might not affect you too much, or the angle or the direction of play might suit you enough to just play as it lies. Or if you wish to take free relief, you can do so. So that's what a may is. And then a must, you have to do it. Just like what it sounds, it's a must do. Otherwise, you're going to get a penalty if you don't. So you must play from within the teeing area to start play of the hole.
You must mark your ball, put a marker down before you lift it to identify it, right? You must do that. And if you don't, you're going to have at least a 1-stroke penalty, potentially 2-stroke penalty if you don't replace it.
Yeah, correct. So there's the difference between may, should, and must. And then we also have allowed and not allowed in the rules of golf. Sort of goes along with what you can and can't do, like the may option. You're allowed to do it or you're not allowed to do it. You're allowed to play with conforming clubs, but you're not allowed to play with non-conforming clubs, that type of thing. So it's really important to look at the language of the rules. And when you're reading them, looking through the app or the book, you understand what the rules of golf are trying to tell you or help you out with in certain situations.
And you'll hear us be very clear too within this podcast series that we'll talk about must, may, or should, and we'll be really clear about it for you if you're following along at home and taking notes, for example. So let's dive into the defined areas of the course, because this is another thing that when you are asking a question of a rules official or a pro, or maybe you're telling a story about something that happened to you out on the course that day, or looking it up yourself, it's really important to know where your ball was or where you're standing, and sometimes where you just hit it from. But those areas of the course. So Blakey, can we do a little rundown?
Yeah, so the 4 specific areas of the course. First of all, teeing area. Teeing area is where you start play of the hole, and it's defined by the outer side and the front are defined by the tee markers. And then it's 2 club lengths in depth. And club lengths, a phrase like that is something that we'll get into further on, and you'll hear it a lot, but basically it's your longest club in your bag except your putter.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so interesting. Again, that just falls right in line with if you don't know what that definition of club length is, you're going to just assume it's a shorter club or whatever. So important to know that almost every word in there has got a little definition tied to it, just like club length.
Yeah, correct. And then so tee your ball up with inside the teeing area so you can make a stroke at it and start play of the hole. And even something like as simple as make a stroke, which we'll cover in the next episode, has its own definition. And it's really important to understand what it's probably one of the most important definitions that you need to understand is what an actual stroke is. But we'll go into more detail in the next episode about that. But once you've made that stroke, got your ball out of the teeing area, you're going to be close to a bunker, which is a hollowed area that's been filled with sand or like material. And the ball has to be touching the sand to be in the bunker. So it's important to know when your ball is actually in that area and when it's not. Or you might have gone close to a penalty area or into a penalty area, whether it's a red or a yellow penalty area. You know, that's another specific area of the course. But you're all trying to get towards that putting green, which has the hole on it, or, you know, the holy grail, the end of the hole has a hole on the putting green. There's two understandings or meanings of the word hole. The actual hole you're playing that starts with the teeing area and ends with the putting green, and the actual hole in the green that's 4.5 inches in diameter. So on the putting green, it's been well prepared by the ground staff, and there's a few more things that you can do that you can't do anywhere else. So you've got those 4 specific areas, and then outside of those 4 specific areas, we have just what's called the general area, which incorporates what, Marcel?
Everything else that's within the boundaries of the golf course are considered general area. And it's important to note that the general area may contain fairway, rough, bushes, and trees. So you could be in a ravine, in a barranca, in a wooded area, in a collection area. I mean, there's so many terms for different kinds of areas: thick grass, fescue, hedge, but you're probably still in the general area. So when we talk a little bit later about taking free relief, like from an immovable obstruction, like a cart path or a sprinkler head, sometime, you must first determine your nearest point of complete relief. And sometimes people think, oh, well, there's a bush over on that side, so my free relief's definitely going to be over on the right because there's a bush on the left. Well, the bush is part probably of the general area, and that might be where your nearest point of complete relief is, just standing in the middle of that bush. So that might be when you're going to go ahead and take that play it as it lies situation you just talked about, Blakey. So it's important to know the general area doesn't just mean nice grass. It means everything within the boundaries that is not one of the 4 specific areas of the course.
Yeah, exactly right. So we've covered a fair few things in our first episode. And if you listen to us throughout this podcast series, you'll definitely be able to pick up a few things that you can take to the golf course. That's going to help you out. Okay, the answer to the simple golf rules question of the episode: which area do you start play of the hole? It's teeing area. I'm sure all of you got that one right. We discussed teeing area and how the size of it is the 2 club lengths in depth. So that's where you must start play of the hole.
Great. So we look forward to next week, and we will dive deeper into starting the play of a hole, differences between stroke, swing, practice stroke, all of that, which many of us use interchangeably, but we shouldn't. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how we got involved in the rules. And there's some interesting stories in there of life that's happened out on the golf course to both of us. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.